How do you explain threat modeling to someone without a technical background? I think at its core, threat modeling is a structured approach to identify what risks are in your environment, what risks are in your systems, your applications, your processes, your staff. And then what you want to do is model your cybersecurity against those threats that you see that are most prevalent. You want to think about what could go wrong, what should we do about it, and then from there, what can we do to mitigate those risks? Yeah, a good example might be that maybe you've got people that are traveling outside the area or outside the country, and they're going into risky areas of airports, coffee shops, hotels, where they're using public Wi-Fi. Obviously, there's risks associated with that. So from there, you could look at mobile VPN access or how you're securing that connection that they're making to the internet. What's a good starting point for aligning cybersecurity strategy with real business risks? To understand risks, you got to think about what the outcomes could be, both positive or negative. An outcome might be, your systems are down. Well, that could be productivity for your staff, but it also could affect service delivery to your clients. So the risks are productivity, losing customers, and then you've got to figure out what things you can put in place to mitigate those risks. I think over and above some of the operational challenges of IT going down, I think businesses also have to look at their reputation and how it might be affected by a breach. Rebuilding trust and a positive image with your clients can take years. And this is something that I don't want to see any company have to go through. So when we meet with our clients, one of the important parts of our cybersecurity planning is to talk about the risks within their systems. Risks are productivity, systems being down, employees not being able to work, but much more than that, it can be service delivery. How is this going to affect you taking care of your clients? How are you going to be able to support their needs during this downtime? What's a good starting point for aligning cybersecurity strategy with real business risks? Businesses need to sit down and look at their systems and how they affect their operations. Planning for downtime, how long it takes to restore systems, would be a big indicator of what that risk is. And of course, that risk is productivity with your employees. It might be service delivery problems where you can't provide the services to your customers. There's other things that come along with the risks. Risks of reputation. How do you rebuild trust with your customers after a breach? How do you rebuild the reputation of your business that you've established over many years? There's other aspects to this too, fines, reporting. They're not things to be in. But what we do, we sit down with our clients, we talk about these risks, and we try to identify what things we can put in place to prevent. How can teams move away from a tools-first thinking and start building threat-informed platforms? So I think a lot of companies try to check the box, either what their cybersecurity insurance needs or their compliance standards. Yes, I've installed this tool, but building threat-informed platforms means looking at your systems, looking at what the biggest risks are, and then aligning the tools that you need and that you can afford into those areas where you have your biggest risks. What are the things that are going to affect the delivery of your services to your clients? What are the things that is most risky based on how your operations is run? Can you change how you do your business and operations, or can you change the tools that you're using? Or do you need better tools to watch certain areas of your business? Basically, what you're doing is you're prioritizing what tools you're going to use for the biggest risks in your business. That would be a threat-informed plan. What types of threats are often underestimated by business leaders? So a lot of times security, it's multi-layers, there's a lot of things at stake, but some of the most basic things are overlooked. Cyber hygiene, how are your patches being maintained on your computers? The vendors work very hard to put security updates in to fix known security risks, and they need to be applied, whether it's to the operating system or to the new version of the software or the new firmware for the hardware that you're using. So keeping your systems up to date, and the way that Team Logic does that is through tools that we have to not only manage and deploy, but also to monitor. It's a constant battle of keeping the systems up to date, but that's a critical first step in protecting your environment. Outside of that, other risks that are overlooked, just because things are inside your network or inside your building, they're not necessarily less exposed. And sometimes people leave things in their network environment that are either no longer supported by the manufacturer or no longer getting security updates. And if somebody gets inside your network, which is very easy, they can then exploit those vulnerabilities of that older equipment. So make sure that you're protecting everything inside your network as much as you are for your AWS or your Azure environment. These are critical things that we review in our cybersecurity assessments. One other thing I think that we should bring out too is supply chain. third-party risks. Nowadays, everything is integrated. What you do is you connect an API, an application programming interface. We just connect that to your Azure environment. We share data back and forth. Sometimes we give rights to third-party companies, and you don't know what their security is. You don't know what you're exposing yourself to when it comes to these other vendors that have access to your systems. So you really got to look at what third-party companies you're giving access to your data, give the minimal rights necessary for them to do their job, and make sure that that vendor is in compliance with certain security levels that you yourself enforce. Don't just assume because it's them, it's not your responsibility.